Yo, what's up, guys? This is Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Casting. I'm one of the HCS commentators, and we have another HCS weekly report where today we're going to be concluding all of Rostermania that happened, affecting top 10 of the top 20 teams in North America. And then on top of that, we're going to get you updated on what's going to be happening during the 4K number 2. Very important here, but you can't know where you're going till you know where you've been, and I know you guys love my opinion. I know you guys love hearing my voice, but we got a guest to join us. Proton Gaming's very own Posey. We've had him on the show before. He did such a great job. We had to bring him on again. Shane, how we feeling today?
Feeling great, man. Today's a good day. It's a new day to start the first, I think, reset of the week for Rostermania. So hopefully everything's staying still now. Hopefully everything's not moving, so it's a good day.
I love that. Every day's every day is like it's just new opportunity. I mean, you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You should know this. In case you guys don't know, Posey of Proton Gaming, top 12 at Charlotte, have upset multiple of your favorite team, guys. I'm talking the G1s. I'm talking the Native Reds. I believe 10 years in the armed forces. Is there anything that I missed?
Nah, man. But if you want to keep going, I'm all ears. I'm enjoying this.
I'd rather talk about the puppy. Where's the puppy? I'm rather where did the puppy go?
I gotta get a puppy cam going.
Did you clean your room just for this? Your room is immaculate right now.
Nah, gotta keep it like this, man.
BS. I see the vacuum. You literally just cleaned. That's BS.
No.
I see the vacuum.
That was from yesterday.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for the milk. We're gonna get started with the video, and very very quickly we're gonna recap what happened during the weekend. It was the 4K qualifier where the top 4 teams during the qualifier from yesterday got to join the top 12 teams as far as HCS points that auto-qualified for the 4K. We got the chance to sit down with Tashi, and he talked about the fact that this year's online points are going to be so much more important than they were last year. So obviously, you have the likes of Optics, FaZe, SSG, Native Whites, Native Reds, we'll talk a bit about G1, Shopify, Rebellions, and more signed up. But with Rostermania, it created a lot of movement within the points, and we're gonna recap everything that happened with Rostermania with the first move, G1 deciding to go separate ways with Suspector and picking up Suppressed from Complexity. This was a very different move. Suppressed, I would say Suspector was probably one of the top 5 more underrated players from last year, where I feel like Suppressed this year has been on my top 5 radar as one of the more underappreciated players, underrated players. Suppressed is an absolutely incredible player. We've seen him and Boo Boo Dubu really putting in work together and upsetting a bunch of top teams. When you heard about this move, what were your first thoughts?
So personally, I thought G1, like the makeup of the team originally was Suspector. Like, it didn't make a lot of sense to me personally. Like, it just, the way their play styles are, it just didn't really seem that it was going to fit how everybody thought it would. But I think this move kind of solidifies them to be the team that they should be. Honestly, like, I think that they were kind of losing their steam the last couple weeks or like a month or whatever, in my opinion, and I think them picking up Suppressed I think it's low-key moving forward, and I'm not gonna say they're gonna drop Sab ever or whatever, but I think it's moving towards Boo Boo's little money chow team that he has going. That Boo Boo Suppressed diagram ab, or like whatever team it looks like he's trying to form. It seems like it's moving in that direction, so it's kind of cool to see. But I like the move. I think Suppressed is a very very good player, very individually skilled, and he's the aggressor that they need, honestly.
Yeah, well, when I first saw the original G1 roster, I had said that they were the 4th best team in the world. not including Proton, of course. But I said they were fourth best team in the world, and I said eventually they would surpass SSG as the third best team in the world. Since then, we've seen good, we've seen great, but we haven't seen like top four, like elite G1 like we've wanted to. And I said something had to change, whether it be like a tough conversation. I didn't immediately jump to roster move, but it looks like the roster move is happening. And no matter, I know some of the casual fans probably look at Suppressed like, oh, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense. But if you know kind of thing, Suppressed as a great centered shot, puts down massive amounts of damage on the map, and either ends games with like the highest KD or most damage on his team, and his teammates will clean up. Like either way, I think his presence is always felt on the map, and I think he's going to be a good addition to G1. Although I love Suspector as well.
Yeah.
And that was the first domino to fall, and then we talked about one Suspector hitting the open market, or I should say, I talked about one Suspector hitting the open market. I said this was going to affect anywhere from 3 to 6 teams, because now you're trying to have more tough conversations and find out if Suspector is the right piece for you. Sentinels decided to make the move to pick up Suspector. I'm sure you don't have to comment on it, but I'm sure you know that there was some talkings before the 2023 season where this was kind of what this team was supposed to look like to begin with. Things ended up not going that way. We don't have to kind of go into specifics. But Suspector now back on the radar, now back on the team alongside Lethal and Sparty and with King Nick. And obviously that means they decided to part ways with Collect. We saw Sparty tweeting out multiple times about like nothing to do with skill, talent, whether he's a bad or good teammate. In fact, he said he's a great teammate. It was more just about fit. And when I hear that, I hear like, does that mean that maybe Sentinels are trying to slow their game pace down, and maybe Collect was more of a faster player? Or I don't like. I agree with Spartan. I don't think it was a skill issue. I think it's simply, you know what, it is a fit. And to be honest with you, you can almost consider it less of a dropping. Like, for example, say Sentinels want to slow the game down and Collect wants to speed it up, and he's putting down all this damage, all this offense, and his team's not picking up on it. It could be a bad fit for both ways. So I feel like I see it less of like a drop and more like maybe liberating, so he can find the right pieces around him, and maybe he has. But sorry, I went on a little long about that. How do we feel about the Sentinels move, Suspector replacing Collect?
I think it's a good move. I don't think they need that explosive player, like that I think Collect could have been. I think you're right on track with. I think Collect thinks in a different way about the game. He's more an aggressor and trying to make things chaotic, and just keep that fast pace going. But I think Spartan and them kind of want to make sure it's like it's calculated chaos. It's not like we have no idea what the hell's going on because we're just pushing these spawns and we're splitting them behind us, and like they just don't have a grasp on the game. It's more like we don't need that explosive player. We need someone that's going to keep the constructive play going and making sure that we're on top of our game and everything is calculated type of deal. So I think that this was the smarter pick because Aiden has that slower playstyle, that slower Slayer playstyle. So it's both Slayers in the terms of him and Collect, if you compare them as players, but I think Aiden is like a slower Slayer. So I think this actually works pretty well. I don't know if this is 100% true. Could be wrong, but from what I heard, that the G1 complexity, that was supposed to be a swap between players. It wasn't like a Aiden, or it wasn't like a Aiden got dropped and Suppress got picked up. It was like this was supposed to be a swap between complexity and Sen, but I'm not sure if Aiden wanted to play for complexity. So then I think he went in the background and talked to the Sen and see what's going on there, and then I think that's why Collect eventually went to complexity. But I think this is a good fit. This everything that happened with Rostermania, it made this race for the Invitational a lot more closer than what it would have been in we'll get into that once we get to the team change with mine. But yeah, I think it was a good fit. I think it was a good pickup for Sen, and I think that's what they wanted originally, like you said. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people like a lot of people, and I'll put myself up there. Like, you know, you're a competitor. You probably understand more than anybody about, like, you know, when it comes to play styles and fits and whatnot. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like us, you know, whether it's the fans or the casual or competitive fans, we look at a player, we see, oh, he's so skilled, he's so excited, he's this is that third, he's like, and when you know, you can't drop him, you can't change. Like, you have to, like, you have to build around him. You have to keep him on the team. And sometimes it's just, you know, you have three players that are moving a certain way and one that is. It's almost like I like making sports references, so like it's almost like, you know, a Tim Duncan and like a Kevin Garnett, you know, like you can't go wrong with either one, right? You know,
Yeah.
but you know,
No,
one might be more of like a system player, one might be more
exactly.
of like more of like a freestyle player, and they're still effective in their own way. You know, they are as good as each other. You know, take one over another, regardless. But in this case, it really play styles really do exist, and fit really does exist, and obviously you're gonna adapt your game and try to fit around your team, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We're gonna find out if this move works out long term for Sentinels. One team actually didn't make a move at all. Avengers staying the same. We talked about
Actually,
them.
super surprised about that too.
I mean, like I don't think, I don't know if they don't need to make a change. I just felt like with all the changes happening, I thought eventually something might happen with the Avengers. But like,
Yeah.
no, we're good. Like, we're happy. We feel like we're creating something here, and we're sticking with it. One team that did make a change, and you don't have to go into super specifics, but you're here. I gotta talk to you about it. So Proton Gaming, at one point we had Monster hightail it out and head over to Complexity. It looked like Haynes was going to be coming back into the mix. I'm telling you, the Brett Favre of Halo. And now we see Squale fitting in, who formerly was of Cloud9. Talk to me a little bit about what has happened here.
Yeah, so I think this is just a push to try to make the invitational by Complexity. I think with them not being able to register or check in or whatever happened in time for that 4K to auto qualify, which is absolutely ridiculous. You shouldn't have to qualify, or you shouldn't have to check in for an auto qualification. That's just my opinion, but I'm just going to digress about that. Basically, Complexity is just trying to push for the invitational. They don't want to miss it, and with them missing that 4K, and then Jazero, he has a wedding, I believe, next weekend, so he wouldn't be able to play in two 4Ks. So basically, that made the GM and their team think like, okay, how will we push to get some players to be able to make a push for the invitational? So that was when they thought about Chance. So originally it was going to be Cycle, Tusk, Zero, and Chance. But then Elect got dropped, and then they saw that he was unrestricted. So they said, okay, this is even better for us because we can bring in two players that's going to bring that point total like kind of closer, you know, because before we were in the 10th seed and Chance was on our team, we were up, I believe it was on meta
Yep.
by I think 2,000 points. So it was going to take a lot for them to be able to catch up to us to make the invitational, because in the 4Ks, top 12 is like, I think it's 880 points. Top 8 is 1,120, and then top 6 is 12,000 or 1,280, I think. So if we consistently just placed like, we got a top 8 somewhere in there, and then we just got, you know, if we just stayed ahead of them or with them, it would have been, nothing wouldn't have happened. Like, we would have made the invitational. But now it's really about who outplaces who, between us and Complexity. And I mean, I think it was a good move. I mean, I wouldn't say that was a bad move by Complexity. I think it's just what happens when you have money. You can take players and, you know, do what you want with them. But I'm not gonna get into that. I think both rosters are happy. I think Complexity's happy with Chance and Collecting. I think we're happy with Nate currently. So yeah, I think it's an interesting move. Haynes was only going to be there for subbing. Like he's not coming back. He's farming impressions on Twitter. So don't believe anything he says. Okay, he's farming impressions on Twitter. But Matt will always be there to sub if we need to, and he'll always have a spot on the roster if he comes back. But yeah, I think it's just going to be a crazy push in this next weekend, and I think there's only one 4K left because I think
Yes.
they combined the phase one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
I had right here. Oh, yeah. This is it. Yeah, sorry. this will be like the last, I guess, 4K, which is the DreamHack Dallas qualifier.
Yeah. So there's a 4K and then there's a 2K, I think.
And you kind of hinted at it when we were talking about complexity, but yes, Squally does end up coming over from Cloud9, which we're going to talk about that, obviously.
Oh,
yeah. We're going to talk about that. But with complexity, picking up Monster and Collect, complexity, by the way, as you kind of alluded to, didn't have a top 12 spot. They were sitting as I believe as the 13th seed, and Meta was involved as well, as you hinted at that as well. With complexity taking Monster and Collect, it added so many points that they usurped C9, and then Meta picking up Ace instead of Boom dropped them outside of the top 12. So C9 ended up dropping to the 13th spot. Then they snatch Boom from Team Meta, and then they steal the 12th spot back, but steal it from Meta instead of Complexity. So Complexity steals C9 spot. C9 steals Meta spot by stealing their player, and then Meta turn into Mantra, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that was some real craziness, and I don't know the exact turn of events and what you actually shed a lot of light on that with the whole Jazero situation and how Monster, how Collect, hey, unrestricted, might as well go after the man. Yeah. You shed a lot of light on that. But it was interesting to see that Complexity steals C9 spot, C9 steals Meta's player, and then ultimately their spot, which forces Meta, I guess, and I don't know how they turn to Mantra, but Mantra now, because they're looking for an org again, to have to compete during the 4K. And like we said, Boom does end up on here, and these are the top 12 that move on automatically to the 4K due to points. And then we had a tournament to decide who was the top 4. Before we get to the tournament, I want to talk more about Rostermania, because so we talked about Suppress going to G1. That creates an opening for Spectre. Spectre goes to Sentinels. That creates opening for Collect. Collect gets stolen by to Complexity. So that creates a spot for Jazero. But Monster gets stolen from you guys in Proton, so somehow Squall ends up here. Cloud9 go after Boom, so that affects Meta, and then Meta turn to Mantra because Mantra pick up Ace, who was previously teaming with Kratos, Avenue, and Diagram. We'll talk about them in a few, because again, the top 10 of the top 20 teams in the world, or North America, were affected by this move. How do you like Ace going to Mantra, kind of almost recreating last year's leftovers roster, or eventually turned to TSS at Orlando and Worlds?
I mean, they made Worlds, right? Like, this is a team that they found success with, and I think that once they dropped Swish and they moved to Boom, I think the caliber of play that they were playing out with Swish, and I don't even know if Swish is like that type of player where like he just makes a team like that much better or like that much worse, or whatever. I have no true opinion on Swish, because I haven't really watched him too much, but like every time we played them, it felt more difficult when they had Swish. And ever since they dropped Swish and moved to Boom, I felt like their caliber of play like went down a little bit. And I think picking up Ace, I think it's going to take them back up to where they once were within that like that top 12 range, you know. So I think this is a good fit. I don't know where this mantra thing came from. I don't know what happened to what was it, Team Meta.
Mhm.
I don't know what happened with all that. So I have no opinion on that. But yeah, it's crazy because once you take a caliber, the type of caliber of player like with Aiden, and all it takes is one roster move to just literally trickle down the whole HCS until it gets to like, I don't know, probably top 20, top 24, where the player's not going to slide outside of that. But it's just wild because you think it's one move, but then it's just one after the other and after the other and after the other. So even us, we were like, we don't know who we're picking up yet because we just knew that stuff was going to happen and more players were going to be available, and we're just like sitting back like, hopefully someone good ends up available that we can pick up. So um, that happened with Nate when Bohm decided to reignite that oxygen roster that they had for Worlds of last year. So I think everybody's falling back into place exactly where they were supposed to be. I think Ace came back to this team that he had success with to make Worlds, and Boom went back to C9 to get that little trio going again. Yeah, and I think Chance, I think that core of Cycle, Chance, and Collect, I think that's exactly the play styles they need to fit each other. And Tusk is like that kind of like, I'll anchor and flank whenever I need to type of player. So I think everybody's rosters got a little bit better after this Rostermania.
Yeah, when Bohm did come to this roster, when the when I think of Bohm's natural play style, it's almost like Gilkey-esque, and from what I've seen, it's like he plays like that back roll and whatnot. I don't like using the phrase baiting, but but
I'm sorry, you're talking about Tusk?
No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Tusk as well. Tusk has a really good long range shot. He kind of plays that role too. I'm sorry. I'm referring to Bohm.
Bohm.
He plays more like that back. He plays like more of that back role. A low sensitivity, backs up his team and whatnot. And I wonder, like, is that what Mantra needed? And even if not, like, even if we take it a different direction, like, what does Ace bring to the table? Like, I feel like I feel like when I was watching Ace's scrims, he was a little hard on command station, and he kept talking about like speeding up when they needed to, like them speeding up when they needed to. So maybe Ace has more of like a change of play games, like a change of pace game style that maybe Mantra needed. I apologize, I've got the chance to watch Ace really to know what he brings to the table. Like, I know when he gets power weapons in his hands, the man can slay. Like people were questioning what he can slay early in the season. Then when he starts giving the heat wave or the sniper, the man starts going off. But I wonder, like, what does Ace bring to the table that Mantra needed that Bohm couldn't provide? Because Bohm could pop off too.
I think comms are a big piece to this. I think Ace's comms are much calmer and thought out and processed. Kind of like looks at the map and decides what comms he wants to do because he already has the info, right? Like he knows what he knows what he's seeing on the map. He just needs to communicate it in a way that his teammates are gonna like make the next play on it. I think Ohm's comms are like, I wouldn't even say they're spammy, but they're like quick and almost aggressive because he's being like in your shit type of play style. Um, I think Ace just fits this team much better just because of that alone. I don't think there's much to it besides that. I think also, I don't even know. I don't know how their vibes were with Bohm, but I mean, to make a change this quick, I think Bohm had to have been feeling something, or maybe he just wanted to bring back that trio that found him success otherwise. But I don't know otherwise. Besides, I would just say the comms and the playstyle because and to go on the pacing thing, when people say you like we're playing too slow or like we need to play faster. It's never like we need to play faster 24/7. We need to play slower 24/7. It's more like situational awareness of like what's going on in the map, that like you get 1 kill or 2 kills and you need to play aggressive. So you need to play fast, fast, fast. But like maybe they weren't, and that's why he was getting on Ali about that. Or like, when a lot of teams they form together, they're playing super fast because they're trying to just be on the same page with each other and like help each other quick. But that's when a lot of teams are like, okay, like we need to slow it down a bit because our pacing is off. Like we're hitting gaps that aren't there yet, or like we're hitting gaps that were there but then they're gone now. Like so like you're missing the timings on things. So I think that's a good way to think about pacing and playing faster or slower. Like don't listen to your teammates or like like people that are just saying like play faster, because like that's not truly how you're coming across with it. It's like you just want me to play fast all the time, or you want me to play slow all the time. So I think pacing is a huge deal with all the teams, of just understanding how fast and how slow you need to play at certain situations.
Well,
Sorry to go on a rant about that, but
Oh no,
that's
you're
like one of my pet peeves I think about, is like when people sometimes play like, oh, you're going too slow, you're moving too fast. It's like, no, it's just pacing. We need to understand.
No, it makes perfect sense. Like if you're not playing to your advantages or adapting to your disadvantages, you're, no matter what the play style is or how you want to play, you're not gonna be successful regardless. Like so it makes perfect sense. With Ace moving here to I'm sorry, I should say one thing that we can't deny is that Meta didn't find the same success with Bohm, for
Right.
whatever reason, and hopefully they're looking to replicate what they were able to do earlier this year with Ace, and hopefully it works out for them. Now, when Ace did come over to Mantra, or Meta then turned Mantra, that left an opening because it was Ace, Kratos, Avenue, and Diagram teaming for quite some time, and like we said. I said it before. I didn't want to believe me, but I said this roster move is going to affect a lot. Going back to the G1, and Kratos is going to stay with Avenue, but this, oh no, you're fine. But this time we have Burton coming over back to North America. He spent some time in Turkey. I know he was running with his family business for a little bit. He was playing with Jay Lings for a while. He was doing a lot, and now back in North America. And then Alex Shock, who was teamed with Envor and Envor and Tony Two turned, and they were teamed for quite some time. And then once just Zero became available, Envor said, "Hey, I'm going to reunite with my former teammate." And then Alex Shock gets dropped again, and he finds his way with Kratos and Avenue.
Yeah, I think I saw it in the chat, but like every single roster, every single player is going back to like their ex, or like their roster ex. Like a team that they had success with a while back, but then due to, I don't know, something on the team dynamic, team performance, they kind of went all their separate ways, and now they're all finding themselves back to where they were. So it's pretty interesting because that's what is it, Envor, Tony, Uriah, and Zero now.
Yep.
What was that original Fnatic roster? It
had Super CC on it at one point.
Envor, Septify,
and Septify, yeah.
CC and
Jazero. And CC and Septify did reunite together back with Mantra, and then back. Septify wasn't a part of that leftovers roster. It was Huss that was here eventually, but Super C did reunite with Ace and Mortally, who was that original trio. So yeah, everybody's going back to back to their exes.
In some form, yeah.
Even though that relationship was toxic. Not to be confused with Proton's toxic, but if the relationship was toxic, but he still go back. I mean, something was good, I guess, but that's a good way to put it. I'm sorry, I'm done. By the way, though, crowd pleasers, one of my favorite names. I believe the hype, crowd pleasers. I love those two are two of my favorite names. Believe the hype and crowd pleasers. Love that name, by the way.
Well, was this interesting also yesterday, is that I don't know how many times this has happened. I'm sure it's happened a lot, honestly. I'm just saying this, but the top 4 seeds all made it through yesterday's bracket, so that was interesting to me. That I didn't think that was always going to be the case, just because a lot of roster changes happened yesterday. But yeah,
And
all
we'll
the
talk
top
about
4 seeds
exactly
made
who
it
the
through.
we'll talk about exactly who those top 4 teams are. Like just actually just one more minute, because I think we have one more team. Yeah, one more team to go
Cool.
over. And
Yep.
that's yes, with the Kratos Avenue, they were a team with Diagram for a bit. Diagram ends up the 4th on status quo,
Mm-hmm.
alongside former Apex Pro Joey Cherish, King J, formerly of Call of Duty, Piggy, formerly of Halo 5, and like he's been in Halo for a little bit, and the Diagram, formerly sharing a home with Avenue and with Avenue and Suppressed. Diagram joined status quo as their 4th. How do we like this move?
I I actually have no idea yet. I wanted to, hopefully King J, or like I think King J he normally streams the 4Ks, right? Um I wanted to see some gameplay from them to see how their dynamic is now. Um it was an interesting move. I think it was a good move for them for sure. And I think they needed that other player that's kind of like a get in your face type of player with Joey. Um So I think this is a good move for them, 100%. I think this is one of the best roster moves they could have made with the player pool that was available. So um, I think Diagram, he was making waves last year, and he's kind of fell off the wayside like a little bit, but I wouldn't say that's due to him. I would say that's just like, teams choosing certain players, and that's just how it is. So I think this is a really good fit for status quo, and I think they showed it yesterday. I think they only lost like one map yesterday in the bracket, so kudos to them.
I love that you said it wasn't like any fault of like Diagram, like himself and whatnot. I feel like his stock has been going up, but with kind of what you pointed out before, players were going back to who they're comfortable with. I feel like Diagram hasn't been, at this level for long enough for a lot of players to be comfortable with them. So there was no X to go back to him, I guess. If we're using that same analogy, but status quo did see something of them. They do end up picking him up, and I'm on the same boat. I need to see this team play more, and I had a bunch of tasks and stuff I was doing yesterday, so I get the chance to watch the upper side of the tournament. But I will say that I've matched against Joey Cherish personally in matchmaking. It was scary. I've played with Piggy before numerous times, and King J's trash. But Diagram has always been a phenomenal player. I'm gonna have King J on a podcast tomorrow. Actually, no, I'm just totally joking.
Good.
I'm totally joking.
I love Jay. I know you're trolling.
I like the status quo roster. I will say that this is more just me liking who they are as people and as individuals, and now I want to see how they were playing as a team. And we teased it a little bit. We're not going to spend too much time. I've already taken up over 30 minutes of your time already. So let's fast forward to on the upper bracket here, where we see Mantra versus Darkest Hour. I had Mantra. I had Mantra moving over to the top 4. I had Darkest Hour in top 6, because oftentimes Darkest Hour would like miss on the qualifier just by one round. They did qualify for the first 4K, but I will say there was more competitors competing in the open bracket in this 4K than we expected, including Mantra. We won over Darkest Hour. Have you got the chance to see much of Darkest Hour? Have you played like any scrims or even matchmaking or anything against them?
I have not, but I do love this team. I think this is the definition of like a stay together and we will do better type of team. Like I think these guys are all friends. I'm not really sure if they're come up, like I think they came from the sauna, um, and they just kind of formed this team of all friends. But I love this type of team, and I always will root for them regardless of how much I know about their team. I just know like a little bit of just their background of like just sticking together and being together for a long time. So um yeah, I enjoy watching these guys whenever I can, and I will always say that they will be a top 4 team inside this open bracket if it's like top 12 teams are in their pool play, and then like these guys are gonna be the ones to make it out because I think even Charlotte, they were like 1 or 2 rounds
Mm-hmm.
from qualifying into the champ bracket. So I mean, if that doesn't tell you that these guys are coming into that type of caliber that they think they can be, then I don't know what else will, you know.
I've matched a few of them in matchmaking a few times, and I also got the chance to watch them during I believe it was an esports arena tournament I was casting, and then a couple of the qualifiers. But um, there was one qualifier I actually had to cast over them instead of just like see their bracket results, and one esports arena I got to cast. I was like, okay, this team is scrappy. This team is tough, man. Like they don't go down easy. They don't give up, and they're frustrating to play against. They march to a beat of their own drum, and I'm happy that they're staying together, like you said. A team, I guess, kind of like the Native Red situation, like really good friends, stay together, grind together, get better together. This is, by the way, guys, Darkest Hour, formerly that Team Mickey roster. In case you don't recognize the name, that they got signed by Darkest Hour recently. But yeah, I we'll talk. We'll see. We'll talk about them a little bit more in the later bracket because they do end up going. They get knocked down to the elimination bracket, not knocked out. But this allowed Mantra to move forward into that top 2 during the winners bracket and advance forward into the 4K. Status Quo and Team Locked. Team Locked was I believe Envoy's team, if I'm correct. Yeah, Envoy, Tony Two Churches Zero, and Arctic get 3-1 by Status Quo, who were the number 1 seed coming into this tournament. And I will say, you know, we want to see Status Quo in action. Obviously, we didn't get to see it, but a 3-1 against a very capable Locked, does that kind of solidify where you at before saying like this is a decent roster? Like, I mean, I think Lots is a good test for Status Quo.
No, I think they came in as a number 2, correct? Because Meta was the number 1. Is that
You
wrong?
might, you know what, you might be right.
Because I think
You might be
everything
right about
happened
that.
how it was supposed to. Like the 1-4 matchup happened, and the 1 beat the 4, and then this was the 2-3, and the 2 beat the 3. So um,
You might be right.
I,
I apologize if I was wrong. I apologize.
I think this is exactly how this team is supposed to play. I think this matchup right here could have gone either way, but I think Status Quo being a team together more, um, I would say, kind of solidified that. But I think I think both these teams, any given day, it could be reversed. You know, where it's a 3-1 for Locked. But um, I'm glad that Status Quo is performing how they're supposed to, and getting into the qualifiers and pool play how they're always supposed to. You know, this team is a 2 seed, and they have the caliber, or they have the potential to do it every time, go through winners how they're supposed to. But sometimes it's some inconsistencies, whether that be online or just team dynamics, just kind of just they're just offbeat or something. But I think this is exactly how Status Quo is supposed to play, and I think I think this could go either way though. Yeah, every single day it could be a different scoreline. So
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that last part, especially because I feel like if there was a team that could upset Status Quo, I think Locked were in. Like I'm a big fan of Envoy and Tony Two Turned, and every time I watch Arctic's point of view, I just feel like, man, it's down freaking damage, and he puts down
he
damages.
can be a demon. He can be a demon when he is. I don't know if it's locked or if it's just online or whatever, but he can definitely be a problem on the map. But I think it locked. It's just getting that mesh. They're all individually skilled. It's just getting that team dynamic on the same page. And that's what they struggle with, I think, currently, and they're trying to find that. But I think they'll get there.
Yeah, and maybe Jazero might have been the right pickup for him. Like I remember asking Strobe, former coach of Fnatic, about Jazero because I want to know more about him, and he said that Jazero was definitely one of the guys they lean on to to play call for the team, and maybe that's what they need, that glue play to help get them organized. I always joke around. I say I say I'm more valuable dead than alive, because when I'm dead, I get to see the map from like a third person point of view and help and help play call a little bit. Maybe and not that Joe needs to die like 15 times, but I'm saying maybe that's what the team needs, is someone that more glue player to help play calling. I know Anvor does a lot of that IGLing to begin with, but maybe a little bit of help in that department might be what Lotta are looking for.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Joey is a phenomenal player. And I think he brings that more team play into the mix instead of who was their fourth? Was it Avenue?
I'm sorry, Arctic. 22 turn.
The fourth before Joey. I forget who it was. I think it was Av. But that was at Charlotte, so I'm not sure if they stuck with him or not.
For Envoy and Tony Tutor's team back at Charlotte,
Yeah,
it was Avenue. Yes,
after Charlotte, though, like the first 4K and like the first couple tournaments, like who was
Parzelli.
Yes, they did try out Parzelli.
You tested me right now. That was Parzelli, a demon with the sniper rifle, also from Call of Duty.
Yeah, I think Av wasn't the right fit. I think Av is more of a chaos player, and I don't think that's what they needed. I think they needed someone that's gonna find the next teammate and get to them, so that they have support in the lanes that they already have. So I think Joey's just a great fit for this team. I think he's a great player, and Joey's the type of player that he would fit in any team. Like he's not like a heavy play style, like one-sided play style. Like he's not a super aggressive. He's not like super passive. He just plays his role and plays it very well, and I think that's why he would fit on any team. But I think this specific team, I think this is exactly what they need to like get them back to where they were, because Envor and Tony and Arctic, like, I mean, how many years have they been in the top 16 like area, and they've been outside that area for I don't know, since Worlds. Like they haven't been back in that little echelon that they think they deserve to be. So I think this will help them get there if this team sticks.
I feel like Tony Tucci, they've had a decent run with G1 for a bit. Envoy, I think, had a really good run with Fnatic. I was always surprised when the Fnatic decided to drop him. I just felt like they were good friends. He was good friends, to my knowledge, with Super CC and Just Zero, and they were always doing well. I was surprised when they decided to drop Envoy, but yeah, since then, we're seeing a level of consistency of where they're at, but we also see potential for more when it comes to the rosters that they've been putting together. So we want to see more. We want to see more of them. Want to see them reach that potential. And with them 3-0ing the shell, I'm always a fan of Rob the Turtle. I don't know if maybe I secretly love turtles too. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I've always no matter what team he's on, I'm rooting for them. I like Bid. I like Bid a lot. I don't know him as a personally, but when I watch his games, I'm like, yo, this guy's fun to watch. And it seems like it seems like he's like, his movement is like pretty cracked out. His shot is decent. He makes these exciting plays, and like I feel like multi kills are kind of drawn to him. I like Bid Teaches. I was watching Stan a bit when he was on Esports Arena Blue. I watched him a bit when he was with Complexion. He cracked me really hard in like this Halo 5 8s when he wasn't even like a Halo 5 kid. He just destroyed me. And I mean, every time I see Pals on the team, they always do well. I don't know too much about Pals' individual gameplay, but every time he's on a team, they always seem to do well. Were you surprised they got swept by Locked?
What series was this?
This was the final series to make. This was in the. I'm sorry. We moved to elimination bracket, by the way, guys, and this was the final series to make it into the top two in the losers. Sorry.
So I know Rob's PC kind of broke. So I'm not sure if this was a 2-0
Oh
and then
yeah,
it
there was a
happened.
crash and then
I think it was a 2-0 and then it like broke and then he just couldn't play anymore.
well, it was a 1-0 and it happened in the Slayer and it was like so it was like 44-36 when it happened. And I remember this I was thinking I was doing a watch party and I was like, I was like Locked only needed like 6 more kills kind of situation and what I'm pretty sure Locked were winning 44-36 and that's when the PC issue happened and then it would have made it 2-0 because that was the Slayer to my knowledge.
Okay. So it potentially could have been a 3-0. It's still, I think this is normal. I think this is a score line that I would expect to see from a team like Envor and them versus Rob and them. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a 3-2 or a 3-1 just because of like the veteranship that Rob and Vic bring. I do like Bid as a player. I think Bid has a very good potential to be at a higher placing than he is currently, but I think he just needs to get out of that little like that group or like the network that he's made for himself. I think he needs to branch out if he wants to get into like the higher tier placements that I think he could potentially be. But I think until then, I think he's gonna kind of be stuck in this mud that he is in currently. But I do think that Rob is a great player. I think Bid is a great player, and I think Vic has his moments, and Vic can make a roster and compete with some people. But like I said, I don't think this is like a crazy scoreline. I think this is kind of how it would normally be, unless like Rob and them just have a really good tournament. But
it's funny. I think if I remember correctly, doing the same esports we did. So I think I discovered Bid Teaches, like, or the first time I casted over him, the same event that I casted over Breaking Shot. Actually, now you see what Brad I was saying the same thing about both. I'm like, damn man, their movement is freaking. I'm like these freaking new. I'm like these guys I haven't heard of. I'm like their movement is cracked. They're hitting shots. I'm like, who are these guys, man? Like what is going? I'm pretty sure it might have been the same tournament that I got the chance to cast over both of them, and that's I was like, yo, there's a lot of talent out there, and that's interesting. And but it also seems like high praise for him that you're giving him. It seems like, hey, if you say if he gets out of that group, maybe test the waters a little bit, maybe he could take that next step within his competitive career.
he absolutely should, because I think that's what gets players stuck in the type of placings that they're getting. It's not due to them being bad. It's just the networking group that they have kind of put themselves in, that they won't take themselves out. They don't want to try anything new. They kind of just, kind of meander to the same players that they've always played with, trying to find new success out of something that they haven't had success out of yet. So, um, yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before he kind of, hopefully, it's a matter of time that he kind of just goes out of his comfort zone and goes to new players. And imagine if Dylan didn't do that. Like imagine if Chris Common didn't take a chance on Dylan. Dylan would never be teaming with us. I could promise that. Like a lot of people don't take chances on players because they're later in their career and they don't want to take chances anymore. So like they want to kind of continue to find the same success that they've been having, or get new ones and take the opportunities that they deserve. They have kind of cemented in their career to have. Like you've been consistently getting higher placings each event, and you deserve these type of players in this player pool. But a lot of people don't want to reach out and get outside of that player pool to bring someone in to create new success. And I'll give huge kudos to Chris, because and it was a part of Dylan too, because Dylan flew out to Orlando for a LAN, literally a local LAN, to show how good he was. That's how confident Dylan was. And I'm talking about Breaking Shot chat.
Yeah.
If you, yeah. That's how confident Dylan was, and a lot of people won't ever do that and put themselves out there to get recognized by some of these players that they deserve, that they should be on the team with. So I hope that Bid eventually does that, because I do think that he is a very good player, and he could, get on a better team to get those better placings that he thinks he gets or he deserves.
Wow. Oh, love that. Not only out here sharing the knowledge about the bracket and the players, but also sharing knowledge of some of you guys that are out there looking to compete. From starting to amateur to top amateur to trying to make it into the pro scene, and I appreciate it. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people listening right now that also appreciate your words. Thank you very much. The last matchup here, Crowd Pleasers in Darkest Hour. And you said earlier, you said you liked the Darkest Hour squad. You said you said you liked them, and beating top 5 in every category. Kratos, Burton, who's been around the block, around the world at this point, a champion level Gears of War player who's also damn good at Halo as well, and Avenue's very capable, very capable. Darkest Hour 3-0ing Crowd Pleasers. I'm shocked. You don't look shocked. You look like you're not surprised whatsoever. I'm shocked at this.
Yeah, I'm really not. I think this is just a team diff. Not a player diff, just a team diff. Like Grand Shiesty and Tricky and M3 and Yak, they've been teaming for I don't even know how long it's been, but I know they have been together for quite a bit. Even if it's been like off and on per se, or like, they've been doing it together, so they know how to win these games. I will say though, I watched I think 2 of them. The Live Fire King, I think Crowd Pleasers completely threw that, and I think that was because they are not a team. Like I was talking to Chris about this. Like Darkest Hour knows what they want to do on the map, and they have an idea that they just need to get on the same page together within that game to create success for them in that game. I think Crowd Pleasers is more of a like live and die by the play call. Like hopefully it works, hopefully it doesn't, but if we're all doing the same thing at the same time, it's gonna work. That type of like SSG mindset, but SSG is tiers and echelons above obviously Crowd Pleasers.
Yeah.
But like I think that's how that team, the Kratos team, the Crowd Pleasers team was, and I think they just kind of crumbled when it got chaotic because they didn't have an idea of what each other wanted to do. So I'm definitely not surprised by this at all. But I will say that Crowd Pleasers did throw that Live Fire King, so I think this at least should have been a game 4. But yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned that because I know exactly what you're talking about during the throw, and I'm gonna see if I can find it on screen real quick because I saw it too, and I was like, bro, what just happened here? And
they almost threw the top mid hill too. Crowd Pleasers, they potentially could have not gotten that top mid hill because Kratos got like a disgusting triple kill.
Look at my notes. Look at my notes right here. Kratos triple into the smoke on tower side onto the middle hill, and I wrote down the time and everything to try to find this. I wanted to break down this play because not only did he got this nasty triple with the sniper up here, but he also like smoked like upwards on the top hillside and almost created like the CS:GO like smoke.
It was a horrible smoke. It was a horrible because he one-wayed his own team.
I was thinking about elevation. I was trying to find the
elevation of top mid. Top mid is higher than A plat and inside A, so he's giving their team shots on their ankles and their legs when his team can't even see who's shooting them. So he got this triple kill, then one-wayed his own team top mid, and then on top of that, almost didn't stack the top mid hill at the very end when 2 of his teammates died. Imagine if 2 of the teammates died, he didn't stack, and then they got the hill. Like it just would have been a complete throw. But even after the fact that all somehow worked out for them, I still feel like they threw the last 2 hills. They should have won this game. They definitely should have.
Well, this is it right here. We're about to what the exact play you're talking about. We're about to see it right now. This is it right here. He gets the sniper rifle away from Burns' body after he gets God stuck. First kill, second kill, third kill, and eventually that player goes down here. And I want to see this smoke because I wanted to know, was this a good smoke? Was it a bad smoke? Like, is this what smoke's gonna be like? I was trying to. Okay, so this is it. He smokes up here, And I don't. So my thought process, like, he can't see much. But I was thinking maybe his teammates can see under the smoke, and maybe like they couldn't see him that much. Like, I didn't know what the thought process was, or maybe he was trying to smoke all the way out here into sandbags and
Yeah, I
use
think
it
he was trying to smoke
offensively,
deep.
and it ended up hitting the wall here. And this is what you were talking about. I didn't know, so I wrote this down to try to find out, like, because this is where I was like, yo, there's no shot.
Yeah, I think the mindset was to smoke deep to A bag, so that way they would have to kind of funnel through the smoke to hit the hill. But I mean, yeah, he almost just threw, just because look at the angle that Av has to play in order to get shots on the team. Like, otherwise, if they're playing like mid left side, they're getting no intel on if they're pushing, unless they're like crouching in the hill. So hopefully his intent was to smoke 8 bags, but if that was intent, then I don't know. I think he needs to go take that one out of the playbook.
Well, I'm trying to find creative ways to use the smoke. So I was wondering, like, what was the plan there, and I didn't know, honestly. And maybe it was the case that he was like trying, like, he wanted to smoke sandbags, but like as he was shooting, he was strafing, and then probably moved too far to the left, and I smoked the wall instead, and now we have to work around this smoke. I was just, it was funny. It was just so funny you mentioned that, because I literally wrote that down in my notes to go back and watch it and see, like, was that a good smoke? What is that going to be the future of it? And you're saying no. Rip that out of the playbook immediately.
Yeah. It was so good, and then it just was so bad. Right after. It just like everything was working, and he just got a triple kill. Like, there's no reason to smoke they were like double stacking the hill, and he was top tower. Like, no one's getting in that hill if you're double stacking hill plus someone's tower, unless like someone somehow hits cuts. Like, no one's coming from A bags and just hitting the hill without dying. Like, so I think that smoke was detrimental to the play, regardless of how it was. I think they were taking away their advantage that they had. But yeah, I think that Darkest Hour is just the better team, and that's just what showed.
And so after it's all said and done, we now know who are the 4 teams that will be joining the top 12. We know it. I know it's Status Quo, Mantra, Darkest Hour, and there's one more team locked. Envoy's team. I can't remember their name. Those are the 4 teams going into the top 16, where you are as well. I believe Saturday's probably gonna be a pool play. Maybe they do like one round of bracket play as well. Bottom seed goes out. Third seed probably goes to the elimination bracket, and top 2 seeds probably go into the winners bracket. How were you feeling about your team's team going into this? Like, you have a new player in Squall coming in. Where do you feel like you guys are at?
We scrimmed Shopify yesterday, and it went okay. We always have trouble with Shopify online. So I mean, that wasn't really that didn't change how I felt about our team. I think our team is very solid, and our trio, our core trio, it doesn't really matter who we place in that. We're always going to find success in some form, whether it makes us stronger on strongholds, or stronger on flags, or stronger on hills. Like, I think we're always going to have like something that we're very strong at and something that we're weak at as a team, and we're just going to have to work through it. But I really like Nate. I've always wanted a team with Nate, so I think this is a good opportunity for us to hopefully play how we know how to play, and edge out complexity for that 10th spot. Because I think it truly does come down to like this and the next 4K. But I was talking to Chris, and he actually made this very good point that sometimes later into the season, when it comes closer to the tournaments, like the LANs, the events, that last online tournaments, those top teams tend to not play, because they have enough points to solidify them for their seed in the LAN. So that's what makes this very interesting, because once you take away Optic, FaZe, SSG potentially, I think maybe FaZe and SSG will continue to play just because they're very, very close to each other. Or they don't, and they just you know, regardless, I'll take the 2 seed, I'll take the 3 seed, whatever, you know, because Native White is not catching up to them. So I think that top 3, it's going to be very interesting to see if they play in that last 2K, because that, even though the 2K is less important than the 4Ks, it might be the most important, because then it's going to give that like a chance for complexity to get like a placing maybe they wouldn't have, or like, you know, or another team to do that as well. So I think these last 3 tournaments are going to be crazy, and I don't think anything is going to be solidified until that last tournament.
Well, I can't wait to see you in the next in the next tournament, in the last one, and see what you guys and Proton have in store for us, because it's been exciting watching you guys both going into Charlotte again from the open bracket into top 12, and then even afterwards continue to find success and going into DreamHack. It's going to be exciting. It's invitational. Everybody's trying to take those final couple of spots, and I think we've seen the end of Rostermania for the most part. Now it's time to see what fruits are being, you know, that were planted as seeds. What fruits are gonna grow off of this Rostermania 2023? Posey, been a pleasure. Always a pleasure. You know I'm gonna bring you back on again. And I told you an hour.
You gotta keep me off this thing. I like talking. I like talking about this stuff. So yeah, I enjoy this, and I appreciate you having me on. So thank you.
Thank you very much, man. You have a good one.
All right, you too, man.